Marketing Your Private Practice is a podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to grow your business without spending all day online. I'm your host, Kathy Colaiacovo, and I teach practitioners the Thrive marketing method to create simple and streamlined plans by focusing on long-term strategies, not just social media. Discover ways to spend less time on your marketing, attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you. When you started your private practice, like most business owners, you were probably told to get a website up, so you did. And you probably got some of the main pages that are needed to make that work. I always tell folks to have at least these 4 pages: your home page, about, services, and contact page. Those are the basics that you will need for this marketing foundation, which is your website. And then business gets going and takes off. You get busy with clients and you tend to neglect your website, which, as one of your most important marketing foundations, this is not a great idea. When you forget about your website, and in particular one specific page on your site, it can actually mean missing out on new clients, which is more sales and more growth for your private practice. Today, we're going to dive into the most overlooked page on websites for private practice owners and how you can easily optimize it to get more leads and more clients. This is the one page people never think to review or update: your contact page. Yep. I'm telling you, this is the most important page on your website because it is the conduit to reaching you. It's the way people make contact with you from your website. And when someone fills out the form on the page, they want you and they want your help for one reason or another. And like so many folks out there, the importance of this page is undervalued and underappreciated. It's the one page that does most of the heavy lifting on your website. Your contact page is the conduit to conversions on your website, taking people who visit your website and turning them from being a website visitor into a lead or even a client. That's why we want you to get your contact page optimized and working at its best, so that more people can be reaching out to you and go from being someone who's just visiting the website, or someone who got a referral and is checking you out on your website, or someone who found you online and is checking you out on your website. Instead of these folks just checking you out, we want to change them and turn them into somebody who's actually taking that first step to working with you. And that's why we focus on the contact page. It's the way they can contact you from your website. Now, there are 2 main reasons you'll want to optimize your contact page and the form you have on it. The first one is because this is the main place on your website where people have that opportunity to contact you by filling out the form you have there and sending you a message. Typically, it's to request more information, to ask a question, or to book an appointment. Now, when you have a contact page with a form on it, and I 100% recommend using a form, this helps you avoid putting a live link to your email address on your website. And a lot of folks do that before they come to me and get a marketing assessment done. It seems easy. It's so much easier just to put a link that says mail to and have your email address so people can click and email you. Well, that's great, except in this day and age where there are so many spam bots out there and different tools and people behind those tools crawling websites for live email links, they're trying to find these live emails to add them to the list of email addresses they're either going to sell or spam themselves. So most website systems out there have one way or another for you to add a form that people can fill out. And that is the preference on a contact page or on any page on your website. Don't use a live email address. You want to make sure you're using a form so that your email address doesn't get inundated with spam because people have taken it, grabbed it, and have either put it in a spam list themselves that they're using or sold it to many other places that are doing the same thing. So that's the importance of this page and making sure that you want to optimize it. But let's look into all the different ways that you can optimize it so it does even more for you and helps you book more clients. There are 10 ways that you can optimize your contact page, and it does involve using the contact form that I was telling you about. I would much rather have you figure out how to do that than put that live link on your contact page. And once you've reviewed all 10 of these, part of what we'll be looking at in, I think it's number 9, is giving you an optimal idea for laying it all out on the page to help boost the form completion rate, which simply means how many people will actually fill out your form and send it in versus looking at it and maybe not filling it out. So with the 10 ways that you can optimize your contact page, the first thing we're going to start with is you actually want to make sure that you add your name, your title, and your company name, even your location to your contact page. Those elements are critical keywords for you and your business. And with some of that content on your website, it helps add to what the search engines can find in the content on your website. Helps them make sure that they're sending people the right information. Plus, for website visitors, it's verifying for them who owns and runs this business. And when you're a business where people essentially are buying you and your expertise, that is really important that people can find out who actually owns the website. I can't tell you how many times I go onto websites that offer services and I can't figure out who the person is behind the service. Even if you have a team of people, someone is the founder there, and it's probably you because you're listening to this podcast and listening to this information. You want to make sure that people know how to reach out to you and get in touch with you, and that you are the person and the face behind that business or that practice. You can also add your phone number here if you want. I'm a big proponent of doing this. I have a landline. I've had it from the beginning, from opening my business. And I have it because I have actually had people just make that phone call and they've turned into clients right on the phone call. So that kind of skips the whole need for having a contact form on there. But there are some people, when they come to that contact page, they are so desperate for help. They want to reach out right away and they don't want to wait for anything. So they do like to make a phone call. Putting that phone call on there gives that option to people that are ready and willing to reach out to you immediately. So number 2 on this list is that you want to have a message on your contact page, typically under your name, of how they can contact you and what to expect to happen when they fill out the form. Something like, you can reach out by phone or contact me via email using the form below. All you're doing with this is you're setting the stage for what to do and what they can expect when they hit the form and send the message off to you. The third thing that you can add on the contact page here is actually your booking link. So this is before we even get to a form. This could be the link to your online calendar if you allow people to click that and just go in and book in your calendar to make an appointment with you. Typically, this is going to be the link that you would have for a free consult. This is especially important to do if your typical flow from your website and people contacting you is they email you and they're interested in talking to you. So then you send them a link back and say, book in my calendar here. You can skip that contact form. That is not necessary, and just get people to book right away. This will save you time, and often you're going to find that you're getting more consults because they can get right in your calendar. Ideally, you want to add this as a button so that it stands out at the top, and make sure the words on the button are very actionable. Book a call with Kathy and talk right now. Book a free call with Kathy. However you want to word it. An easy way to do a button, because I know some website page builders may not have that option for you, but most pages allow you to put an image on a website page and put a link under it. So you can go to Canva, make a button image, add the action words on that button image, and then download the image from Canva and upload it to the website contact page and add a link to it right to your calendar. Putting this link to book a call at the top of the page can actually get you more consults than just using a contact form. One of my Thrive Marketing Academy members did this recently and immediately had 2 people book a call directly with her. There was no contact form needed at all. And I've had many clients and students in my programs do this before. And one of them is one of my most famous testimonials where she did a few of these changes. One of them was updating her contact page. And within 24 hours, she actually had 5 people reach out to book a call with her in one day. One day after the change to her contact page of putting that link and that information in there. It makes it so much easier for people to do. And especially if you end up offering them after an email or a check-in on what they're looking for, a way to book online anyhow. It just saves so that there's no wasted steps and you're not putting any blocks in the way of them just booking that call with you. So if that is an option for you, your third way to optimize your contact page is to add your booking link right there. The fourth way that you can optimize your contact page actually is all about starting to optimize the contact form. This needs to be optimized in its own way as well. You want to stick to the basics here to get more people filling out your form. The less form fields you have, the more people will be inclined to fill it out. HubSpot has done a study on this, and it showed a 50% improvement in completion of the form when it changed the form from having 4 fields to having 3. So that old less is better rule here definitely fits. You want to save all the personal or any medical kinds of details or background information that you want to get from people for when you talk to them. This is how you're going to keep your form to as few fields as possible. I would just ask for name, email, and then have a spot for a message that they can add and write in their own words there. This message area lets them share what they need, and you can learn a lot from these types of messages. Think hard about adding a phone number spot too. I know that you might want to have the phone number from people, but the more fields that they have to fill out, and especially a phone number, that is when people will abandon the form and quit. They won't contact you at all, and they'll go elsewhere. Some studies have shown that more than 80% of website visitors actually do not finish a form when it asks for too much information. So keep it to as few fields as possible. Just do the minimum that people really need to give to you to take that first step talking with you. Because this is typically before they book a consult, you can get more details on the consult if you want to do it there. This page on the website, the form that you want to have there, you just really want to have name, email, and message, okay? And nowadays, I've even noticed that people are starting to add some more information to it. I've noticed people asking for Instagram IDs. Seriously. And when you think about it, people are asking for that, not for the client, the prospect that may fill out the form. You're asking for that for you because essentially, I know why you're doing it. You want to go follow me and connect with me on Instagram. I totally get that. So you have to think about when someone's looking at that. I know for me, I've seen this on lead magnet forms. When I see they're asking for my cell phone number and my Instagram ID on a lead magnet form, I know what they're doing. I'm a marketer. I totally get why they're doing it. They want to get as much information as possible. But I will tell you right now, I typically abandon those forms that are asking for a cell phone number or an Instagram ID when they're asking for it. So keep this down to the minimum. Expedia actually did a study on forms, and they eliminated one field in their form, the company name, and that actually made a change, and they had a $12 million increase in profit. So one less form field made a huge difference. Now, I know they're a big, huge company, but we can always learn from companies like that because they have the ways to experiment and do this kind of testing. And that's why looking at studies like these is often a good way to get good information for you and your practice. So for this optimization tip, you want to keep your form to at least 3 fields, 4 fields, no more than that, ideally 3, if you want more people to take the step and fill it out. Now, the 5th element is optional. This is one that some people may want to add or may not want to add. It can sometimes keep people from filling out the form, but it also helps you identify the reason people are trying to reach out to you. And that's by having a drop-down button that has some pre-filled spots where people can click and tell you the reason why they want to contact you. This can also help keep the bots from filling out spam forms and contacting forms and reduce the time you need to deal with emails if you're getting a lot of solicitation type emails. Maybe ones where people are asking you to write a guest blog or let you write them a guest blog, whether it's on your site or their site, or people are always going to be sending you emails to improve your SEO. And the one thing I want to say is if you're starting to get this kind of contact emails coming from your form on your website, it's a good sign because it actually means people are able to find your website in searches online. So even if their reason isn't to work with you, think of it in this way. It just means that people who are looking for someone who has your type of website and your services, they probably can find you out there. So the drop downs that you could give could be something like book an appointment, book a free consultation, ask a question. Whatever reasons folks may typically want to contact you, you'll want to think about some of the normal things people are asking you for or requesting via the form now, and then add those into these drop-down options. Now, you can also try as a way to reduce spam emails of putting some warning messages on your contact page, but honestly, people don't really read them. I have one on mine saying we don't offer guest posts, and I have another spot where it says if you're trying to sell me SEO services and send me an email from some weird Gmail account that has no name on it, I'm going to mark you as spam. I actually let them know I'm going to do that. But I still get both of those emails and people asking for those things. They don't think about it and they don't read. So trying to give them as much information as possible by having a drop down can help you help the person fill out the form. The sixth element that you can optimize involves your contact form button, the button that typically for most people says submit. You want to make sure your button does not say the word submit. Nobody likes to submit to anything. So you want to make sure that you're putting something different than what is usually the automatic default on forms. Don't use submit. It doesn't entice action. You want to change the words on the form, and most forms will let you change the words to something that's more personal and something that's more actionable, like click here and send Kathy a message, or send my message to Kathy. Whatever it is, you want to make sure it doesn't say submit. And even if you're just going to use send a message, add your name to it as well. Now, one thing to take note of, some of the studies I've read about show that actually using the words click here had a higher completion rate on these forms. People are taking action from words they read. So when a website page says something like click here or enter your name and email, a lot of folks start doing that action as they read it. So they will typically finish that action as well. So number 6 in the ways of optimizing your contact page is to use action words on the button that sends the message. The 7th way that you can optimize your contact page is making sure you actually see these messages from your form. Notifications. This is so important. Next to dismissing the value of your contact page, many practice owners forget to make sure that they see these messages from the contact form as soon as possible. So this is not even just talking about checking to make sure your form works, but it's more about setting up notifications so that you see these messages, because honestly, they're the most important emails you will ever get in your inbox. Because for the most part, the good ones, not the spam ones, okay, but the good ones are requests from people asking to work with you. New clients, and this means a path to new revenue and growth. So I always recommend setting up your form so you have a backup notification on it. You can have a copy sent to another email address. Some forms even allow you to get notifications by text, meaning when someone fills out a form, you'll get the email, yes, for sure, but you can also have a text notification come to you as well. Now, I'm not saying this because I think you should be answering these 24/7. I totally believe in boundaries and not being on demand to answer emails and texts at every hour of the day. But this type of email could be a potential new client. And the quicker you can respond to someone sending you a message, especially if it's one that might lead to new business and new clients and isn't a spam message, then the better your chances of converting that person into a client. There are studies after studies out there that have shown the faster and the quicker people respond to these types of messages, the more results they get from the inquiries. Calling people 2 or 3 days after they've emailed you to reach out is not how you're going to grow your practice. They have reached out because they need your help. And it doesn't matter what type of business you are. This action and the way that humans are trying to get the information and help is the same across all industries. If they're reaching out to you from a contact form on your page, they want your help. Recently, I was looking for someone to help me clean my house. So I went into a Facebook group, I looked around, got some recommendations, looked them all up, and I sent 3 messages to what I thought were the top 3 companies that I wanted to consider doing work with. 2 of them answered within 1 hour, and one of them gave me all the details that I was looking for and answered my back and forth questions with a few messages. The second one asked me a question and then said she would get back to me after she finished the job she was at right at the moment and get me more details, which is fine as well. The more details, though, actually came 5 days later because she forgot about me. And the third one, I have not heard back from them to this point where I'm talking about and recording this podcast. And that is now at this stage about 12 days later. So by the time the second one contacted me 5 days later with the additional information, I had already hired the first person to start working with me. I had booked them, a new client for them from their timeliness in answering my messages from the contact form on their website. Response time to a contact us form message is really critical in converting these leads to clients. If you can't respond to them in a timely manner, or you're not finding them or you're not seeing them, that could mean lost business for you. And again, I'm not saying you have to answer these things instantly, but you have to make sure that you are getting notification of them and have a balance. I believe totally in a balance when you're checking emails throughout the day. I check mine 3 times a day. I don't think anyone can effectively work in their business, no matter what type of business you have, but especially in private practice, if you're looking at emails all the time. You definitely wouldn't be sitting there in front of a client and checking your emails constantly in front of them. So you do need to have boundaries, but I think it's also important that you understand, hello, ding, a contact form message has come in, so you want to answer it as soon as possible. Okay? Ignoring them for days is not a good way to do this. So however you set up your notifications, you want to optimize them so you can respond promptly to these messages. And if it comes on the weekend or in the evening, that may be first thing in the morning, but you should always prioritize that. And by the way, for those guest post and SEO and other solicitation emails I get, I typically delete them. I don't respond to them. The 8th way that you can optimize your contact page is to add a little bit of you to the page, especially if you're the face of the business. You want elements on here that let people know you're a real person or a team of real people. And you can combine this with some social proof types of items, like adding a testimonial below the form. Or if you have some of those, if you're someone who's been on podcasts or in magazines and papers and been interviewed, maybe you have some of those as seen on or featured on buttons that highlight some places you've spoken or been quoted in, then you can put that on there as well, but you put it below the form, okay? You want to make sure that you connect things in a way that people get to the form first and they can see some of the other supplementary stuff after the form. And that's how we get into talking a little bit about laying out the elements on your contact page. But if you can, up near where you have your name, without pushing the form too far down on the page, putting a picture of you or your team up there, that's a good way to add some of you to this contact page as well. It helps you make a little more human to the people that are looking at the website page. Now, laying out the elements on your contact page is actually the 9th step to optimizing it. And this can make a big difference in how many people fill out your form and complete the forms. Here's what makes a more ideal layout of the elements on your contact page. The first thing, you want to make sure that you get that contact form as much as possible near the top of the page as you can. You want to make sure that it's ready and visible for people filling it out. So when you're adding your name and that set the stage message that you want to have above the form, try to keep that short and to the point so that you can see the form immediately after it. Well, actually, not immediately after it. The contact form should go near the top of the page as much as possible so it's ready and visible for filling out. So when you add your name and the set the stage message right at the very top, you want to make sure that you're keeping that information short. You don't want paragraphs of information with your name and company name up there. Very short information, just the basics. Then, if you're going to have a book now button and have a way for them to book in your calendar, that should go next before the form. The idea is if they want to talk to you and you have an option for them to book directly with you, get straight to it and let them book a time with you. So then underneath that button is where you would have your contact form. Have either a title on it that's outside the form or title the form a good way so that it stands out and people know that's what this form is for. So you need to make sure that that form starts higher up on the page so that it's visible in a desktop view in what they call above the fold. So this just means it's visible on a desktop screen without scrolling down. Even if it's not all there, you can at least see the first couple fields in the form. Underneath the form, that's where you can add the information about you and the social proof information. They should never go above the form because the most important goal on this page is that someone either books your link to book in your calendar or fills out the form to send you a message. Those have to be priority on this page. Now, some studies have also shown and indicated jumps in form completion when the form was on the right side of a web page versus the left. And that's more because that's typically the way people read content online. So you can do this. You can put your form at the top on the right-hand side. But if you do this, I want you to make sure you're checking how it looks on a mobile device. You might need to tweak the mobile view version because a lot of page builders typically show a layout when you have items in a column. So you have the left column with information and you have the right column with your form. A lot of times the web pagers, when you look at that page on a mobile device, whatever's in the left column shows first and the right column shows next. So you just want to be sure that form is not way, way down on the page when you look at it on a mobile view. So checking the layout on mobile is critical. And sometimes depending on how tricky the layout and the settings are, you might need to get help from your website manager. So that's the best way that you can lay out the elements on your contact page to optimize how many people will actually fill it out. And the last element, number 10, is including your contact page in your website navigation menu up at the top. And also you want to include it on certain spots on website pages. There are pages that you're always going to have that maybe the next action step is for someone to reach out to you. So you want to link to the contact page there. When it makes sense with the content on your website page, and this really could be any page, there's no set rule to when and where you have a link to your contact page. It depends fully on the content and the purpose of each page. But if it fits the tone that the call to action is a direct one and that people can reach out to you, then linking to your contact page is a must. And if you want a little more information on calls to action and how to put those together, we've had some recent episodes on the podcast where we talked about the different types of calls to action and where you can place them in your marketing to help you get more action and get more people taking action. So I'll link to that in the show notes for this episode as well. The idea is that from different pages on your website, you want to send them to your contact page or your contact form so they can take action. And a bonus to this is it also adds internal links on your website. And that means you're keeping people on your website longer. And the search engines like to see this. If someone comes to your website from a search and stays on it and then clicks to another page and then clicks to another page, the search engines recognize that and it gives you a little more value in how you ended up and the results that you got from someone who took action from the search engine results that they showed them when they were looking for whatever it was they were looking for. So keeping people on your website longer is always a good thing to do. So you want to make sure for number 10 here that you use a link to your contact page, not only in your menu, but in pages on your website too when it's appropriate. And of course, you want to be sure that when you do your monthly stats or checking that you're going in and testing your contact form to be sure that it's working so people can actually contact you. And never forget to track those consults. That is one tab I have in my free stats tracking template that I offer on my website. You really want to be tracking your consults and taking note of the results. Not just the sales that happen, but where the person found you or where they came from. Knowing this information helps you know more about what you can do to improve your marketing. You learn more of what you should do and what you should do less of, as well as just understanding what marketing efforts you're doing out there are actually working. I'll link to that free stats tracking template in the show notes as well, because I truly believe all business and practice owners should be reviewing your stats and tracking your marketing efforts on a regular basis. It's one of the 10 marketing foundations I'm always talking about. And it's really the only way you're going to know what's working and what you need to change and optimize to get better results. So never forget to track your stats and your numbers. So to recap, every practice owner should be optimizing their contact page in order to get more leads and potential clients reaching out. And the 10 ways that you can optimize your contact page are: number 1, add your name, title, and company name and location up at the top. Number 2, you want to include a set the stage message on what to do and what they can expect to happen when they fill out the form. Number 3, you want to add your book a call button up at the top of the page to offer people an instant way to get on your calendar. Number 4, be sure you're using 3 or less form fields so that you can get more forms completed, and add a message section where they can add any other information that they want. Get their details later on. Get them filling out the form now. Number 5, you can add the optional form field, which is a drop-down that can help categorize the reason for reaching out and save them a little time filling out the form. Number 6, you want to make sure that on your contact form button where they send the message, that it doesn't say submit. You want to change that word to be some action words on that button. Number 7, you want to make sure that you set up your notifications and get them optimized so that you see these emails promptly and can respond just as promptly back to those messages. Number 8, you want to add a little bit of personality and you along with social proof to the contact page, but make sure that's done down below the form. Number 9 is that you can optimize the layout of all the elements on your contact page and set them up in a way that you help people have a better flow, know what they're doing, and fill out the form more often than abandoning the form. Number 10 is you want to make sure you're adding links to the contact page in the menu and on pages where the next step should be to contact you. Never forget to give people a call to action. So your action step from this episode and from the lessons in it is to take some time and review your own contact page and the form on it and look at how you can incorporate these 10 elements to optimize that page and get it working better for you. Once you do this, you will find that more people will start filling out your form or booking with you directly in your calendar if you have that button on the page as well. But you're only going to know if this change is happening and if it's improved from what it was before if you're tracking your results. So be sure you're including tracking the stats and the consults and the results from it in your tracking process as well. I hope that gives you some good information on how you can optimize the most overlooked page on your website and help you bring in more clients and more revenue to your private practice. The goal is to get you with effective marketing that works, takes you less time to do, attracts more clients, and helps you become that thriving practice owner. Be sure to check out all the show notes from this episode to get access to the resources I mentioned, and you'll find them all at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. You can find all of our show notes and resources mentioned at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at pepperitmarketing and say hi. I'd love to hear any feedback you have, and make sure to rate and review the podcast and hit subscribe on your favorite player so you don't miss any future episodes.